was there. We spoke of was and when, although I wasn't there. He said I was his friend, which came as some surprise. I spoke into his eyes. I thought you'd die alone a long, long time ago. Oh no, not me. I never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world.
There's this mythology in America, Esquire espoused, especially among the educated and wealthy, that a fresh shower and a new shirt will solve your problems. A good meal over candlelight washes away any desire to break free from this system. As a younger man, I complained that I felt my dreams being choked away by the necktie I applied by my own volition. So, I loosened up. I got rid of the ties. I kept the buttons, and things got tremendously better. The problem now isn't whether or not we're good, but rather that things never change. Things never change because everything feels safe. Esquire cracked the top of his Eggs Benedict while sharing his philosophy over breakfast in Sam's Rittenhouse condo, recently purchased thanks to a career in solving poverty and his alignment with the Price family. How does that breed desire or push you to do more? Sam asked. It doesn't. It allows me to feel in control. Then I put those feelings into the universe, and people pick up on it. If you can convince them you can keep control, they want to write you a check. You've done that for us as well. Don't think I haven't noticed. Merely branding, Sam said. Turn a profit with psychology. But marketing and branding sound much nicer, Esquire said. Sam had drafted a resignation letter to the board. He was tired of the game, and he imagined returning to the community to serve directly. Then, he accounted for his garage-kept, vintage white BMW that he drove through the city on Sundays. He once believed that this work was meaningful. Now, it was a matter of self-preservation. Growth of the organization was his interest, not the eradication of the problems they pretended to fix. In the beginning, the reputation relied on heart, not gentrified real estate. Now, report card statistics were buried somewhere on their website, but glossy pictures of smiling kids assuaged people's guilt. The guilt lessened with the increased feeling of self-importance and superiority that came with donating to people for good. Marketing teams tapped into them with ease. This is a dirty business, Sam blurted. What is? Esquire asked. Making donors feel good about themselves. Focusing on the messaging and the debutantes. The status quo impresses them. So why address the real issues? Sam, these people are here for the prime rib, not the guilt trip. Sam quietly fell prey to the lifestyle. Real fundraising did not require much beyond burying his identity to join an inner circle. Sidling up to Esquire brought the prey to him. He absorbed their looks of disdain while he smiled into their eyes. In the beginning, he enjoyed picking their pockets. Now, he liked a dry rosé and a lack of paperwork in the summer. His resignation letter boasted its prominence by announcing itself on his otherwise empty desk. Esquire pretended not to notice. It was handwritten, as such a document should not have been typed. Splashes of ink from Sam's shaken nerves decorated the paragraphs. The letter was left unsigned and could not be duplicated. Esquire was as fragile as Sam had ever seen. He remembered the days when the man would pace around the floral pattern of the Persian rug in his den, never allowing for his guests to sit until he knew he was going to get what he wanted. Sam adopted the same routine. When Esquire first visited Sam's home, they stood across the rug from one another without breaking eye contact. "The orange against the navy suits you," Esquire said. "I'll bet Rose wanted the gold." Sam agreed through his laughter. The traditional blue for power and gold for wealth were common themes in the Price dynasty and the colors of their real estate brand. That was a type of pride Sam could never tap. The lack of awareness or humility grew with each generation. Sam clung to rebellion with an ever-shrinking beard. Esquire encouraged that a mustache would be more distinguished. He had seen Sam play basketball on many Saturday afternoons, and took note of his rebounds and assists and his understated style. He appreciated it, but it made him apprehensive about his protégé's place at the helm. Sam's intuition shone through his loyalty to Esquire and justified the lack of transparency. Debate was minimal, and Esquire could no longer stand to prove his point. Today, however, he hoisted himself out of the chair and steadied himself with his cane. "You can't win, Sam." Sam longed for the recently retired man who pondered the wonderment of death and the great beyond, not the man facing it head-on. Esquire's assessment quickly boiled down to a lifetime of little moments that brought more joy than any of his achievements. Regret was inevitable. Sam could see a glimmer in his mentor's glassy green eyes. He thought back to a story the old man told him early in his career. Sam felt accomplished and believed he should be moving on to another mission. He was naive about the business. "My problem is not that I don't understand your concern, Samuel. Rather, I lack sympathy for it," Esquire explained. "Why?" "Because you lost the time to be lost. But it's not something you can get back. You were 25 when you walked through the doors of that auditorium, right?" "Yes." "Did I ever tell you where I was at 25? Before I built this place? Or didn't you care to ask?" "I was on a beach in Barbados, and as far away from home as possible. There was a beautiful woman with the name Naima, the lotus flower. Every day, I remember it fondly. I came home, and I was made partner of the firm I eventually bought. I damn sure wasn't taking a paycheck from anyone." "You never told me this, sir." "You can't leave this organization. It's bad enough that I let you shift positions. I don't respect you. I need you. I don't accept your resignation. I'll increase your salary by 50%, and I'll begin a search quietly for my replacement. You're perfect for this seat, but you can't have it. You also don't have the balls to tell me to shove the money up my ass. That's how you win. When your gut is right. It's not the smart play, but it's what you want. You'll feel morally superior. Maybe it is the smart play. You take the money, you still win. No risk. A minimal reward. I should have been on that beach forever." Sam took the money and a peripheral role in the Price family. The golden handcuffs were Esquire paying his regret forward. He knew Sam would die in this place. That was a sure way to keep it running. Sam was never afforded the comfort Esquire could provide, and it was mesmerizing. It ensured him from ever rocking the boat. He was unmotivated by the climb of the varying ladders of the main line in Society Hill. Instead, he could set a post in the center of town and avoid the social anxiety. Without much effort, he became Esquire's right-hand prick, being forced to say no to proposals, but keeping the relationships intact. Sam was strategic, and when that took over his personality, it buried raw emotion. There was no relief in telling someone off or expressing love without the fear of rejection. "You've always been a cold-weather person, sir," Sam told him. "I've always been a cold-weather person." Esquire trailed off with a grin, swirling with regret, but remembering the win over Samuel and the naked flesh against the white shores of Barbados. Waves crashed while their bodies intertwined. "Americans have such strange hang-ups with sex," Naima said. "Are you married, Louis?" "No, but I'm sure I will be soon." "And your wife? Would she have a problem with us making love?" He laughed and avoided eye contact, because he could not remain composed when he did. "Yes, definitely, she would." "So strange. I would not have a problem with you fucking her. It's just pleasure. I would seek nothing else." Esquire was enamored by her Barbadian accent, each word spoken with purpose like a Brit, but warmer, more rounded. It was the inconvenient beauty of colonialism. He locked eyes with her and stepped across the room. "I'm serious, Louis. We could have this. You could vacation here." "It's more than pleasure," he answered. "I know it is for me." They stopped just short of kissing. He kept his hands on her hips while searching for the right words. Work was a decidedly American excuse for staying put. He could not find another, and wondered to himself why he allowed it. They paused the conversation. Esquire watched her change outfits, and they made their way to dinner, amicable but silent. Naima led him through a dirt path to a dimly lit shack where pepper pots and fish flaring over an open flame permeated the air. No ordering was necessary, as the island hospitality had perfected a prefix menu. They retreated to roti and barbecued pigtails. More fish followed a red wine that gurgled in their glasses. A band filled the room with smooth reggae. Naima noticed the smile across Esquire's face. "Do you miss America?" she asked. "No." They swayed in their seats, then joined the small crowd two-stepping on a compact dance floor. Eleanor would never appreciate the fun. She had just finished at Penn, and her business acumen would be of great benefit, in theory, but a marriage with Esquire would provide the kind of comfort that weakens ambition. Esquire ran his hands across Nalima's hips before wrapping his arms around her. They stared into each other's eyes and pressed their lips into one another with the same gentle touch of two familiar lovers. A chocolate souffle arrived for them to share. Esquire watched it cross Nalima's lips. He motioned for her to wipe a bit from the corner of her mouth, and she flashed him a pearly white grin. The business would survive without him. Surely there would be vultures waiting to divide up his share, and he would be more than adequately prepared to live in Barbados. They walked on a sandy path toward his hotel. He stopped and examined the footsteps behind him. "You can always find your way back," Naima said. "The fun is not knowing what lies ahead." But he knew. He knew this was a fantasy. He knew he would be regretting his decision during his return flight. He knew that Eleanor was waiting for an engagement ring, and he knew the passion would never compare to what he felt with this woman. Intuition made him rich, but this was indescribable. They lay there, wrapped in thin white linens, recovering from another consecutive tryst. He studied the empty walls. "If I lived here," he started. "Now you might live here?" she asked. "If I live here," he pretended to ignore her, "I'd probably hang a picture or two in here. Maybe get a desk, definitely a clock. What do you think?" "I think that's too much. Especially the clock." "Why?" "I prefer an open space. A clock is ominous. So American. It looms as a reminder of the next task." "Because there's always something to do," Esquire said. "Not if you put love first." His flight left at 8 a.m. the next day. Instead of letting the moment be ruined, she stayed until noon. Coffee and a small bowl of fruit arrived at 10. The young bellhop blushed when he caught her curvy figure in a towel. He was just a boy. She laughed and tipped him by providing a glance at the highest point of her thigh, just as she turned around before she closed the door. She chuckled to herself while she fell to the bed and glowed in the sunlight. Soon, she squinted at the sea rocking through her rose-colored aviators. A white mesh afghan clung to her peach bikini, barely shielding her from the gaze of the fathers on vacation. They would return at their midlife crises, searching for her and finding only memories. The open fetishizing that white men partook in was jarring until it became numbing. She did not feel that way with Louis. He was searching for something more exciting, but he was too afraid to lose control. She was one step ahead of him. A sketch of a lily and rose-tip petals of a lotus flower, with a bright yellow center, made up the logo of the organization. It was resilient, growing strong and beautiful in any circumstances. Esquire kept a fresh bouquet of lilies on his desk. At the end of a grueling day, spent wearing multiple masks to please the masses, he inhaled them. He removed the grandfather clock from his office and gave his crocodile-banded Cartier to Sam. With age came the realization that he had a legacy for his family and the regret of never taking advantage of his freedom. He got a word a decade before his own death that Naima had fallen ill. After 50 years, he mustered the courage to pick up the phone because he wanted to hear her voice. "Louis?" He was smiling, remembering the rush of the ocean waves, white sand, and a hot dance floor. "Yes, Naima. I know it's been too long." "It did not have to be," she said. "Did you ever find love?" "Just once," he answered. "I've seen you on the television, of course." "Your smile has faded. I've done too much good in the world to be happy," Esquire joked. She laughed through a cough. "I'm sorry," Esquire said. "Our time was magical." "Yes, it was. And I did love you." "I know," she said. "You were not strong enough to handle it." They made peace enough for him to alleviate some of his regret. But he longed for those days and the happiness that eluded him for the majority of his life. When Naima passed, he paid for the funeral and wrote a simple letter to her children. There was no response, and he spent his final years searching for joy in philanthropy. He remained a kingmaker, responsible for one last successful mayoral campaign.
Thank